So, how did I start the healing journey? What I did is there's a wonderful book by Louise Hay that talks about it's about healing the body, and for every ailment we have to understand that in the spirit world, right? In spirit, in our minds, in our souls, we then bring it in and we bring it into our bodies. And so for uterine cancer, and then, I've had fibroids for a number of years. I already knew that the fibroids, because the uterus being in the second chakra, the sacral chakra, that's our creative energy, right? It's reproduction, so that's bringing forth life. And I realized that because of the disappointments, hurts, and pains that I experienced in my life, the fibroids were born as a result of those things. In fact, unborn, right? So they were unborn hopes, wishes, and dreams. I had done really well because at some point in my 40s, I was diagnosed with having 5 fibroids. And by the time I moved through my 40s into my 50s, understanding what that meant, and then really looking at my life to identify what hopes, wishes, dreams, what relationships, what things didn't manifest fully, regrets, hurts, pains associated, was I holding. And through doing that releasing work and connecting, I had gotten the 5, and they were orange sizes, lemon sizes, and different sizes, but they were in there. By the time I got to the point of this surgery last year, I had only had 2, and they were, one was about a silver dollar. They said 4 centimeters, right? And then the other one was pretty small. The work that I was doing, I was working with the rhythm of my cycles to release to reduce and then release the fibroids. But because I had stopped mincing, the fibroids, I found it difficult to get them out of my body, and I didn't want to have surgery. So in my mind, I was like, okay, what do I need to do? What else is left? And then I realized at that point, I really wasn't going to be able to get them out if I wanted them totally gone unless I had surgery. So at the point that the cells were discovered, in my mind, I said, okay, well, when they do that, if they do the full hysterectomy, since I've stopped having cycles, I would be fine with that, because finally I could get that energy out of my body. Now, I do want to tell you, or pause here, that in of itself was a journey. Because in my family, the female line, if early hysterectomies, partial or full, I was the only one that I knew that I was aware that had gone all the way through the mincing cycle and just stopped at whatever point that was. And that for me was at 55. So 55 into 56. So I didn't know what that experience was going to be like. Now, from that, right? So the family had that history, and I had fibroids, but had not had any surgery, and, which I still had my organs. And then also there was endometriosis. So I didn't have any of those things. My periods have always been relatively light. If they would get pretty heavy, then I somehow knew that if I did jumping jacks or some push-ups to get the testosterone going in my body, then that would cause the cramping and those things to go away. So I've always been able to really work with my body and not having too many challenges, obviously, except for having the fibroids, right? So that is there. I also come from a family that has high cholesterol. All of my grandfather's siblings died from heart attacks. And so cholesterol and high blood pressure runs through my family. I don't take any blood pressure medicine. I have not had to do any of those kinds of things. And part of that has been because I've been able to watch my diet, be mindful of certain things. My body is really sensitive to things. And so there are a lot of stuff that I'm aware that I can't have. Now I make sure that I live my life in a way that allows me to enjoy life, but I'm really mindful of my diet and doing those things. So I've always been a basically natural girl. I get my nails done because my schedule's too busy to take polish off and put them back on. That's just something that I choose to indulge to keep myself feminine in the way that I like, right? And eyebrows, waxing, and those kinds of things. But as a whole, just a natural kind of lady. So not a lot of medicines and things like that. I grow things in my garden. This is just a natural kind of approach. Why does that matter? I remember moving around it was almost just before I knew something was for sure going on in my body. And what I heard is the voice came to have the surgery to let that go. You won't be less of a woman, and you won't have failed. Because my goal was to keep all my organs, do all the things that I needed to do, kind of stay in line. And then it hit me that hyper focus of being natural, living clean or quasi clean, had become a badge of honor. No surgeries, being able to go in and say I hadn't had any surgeries other than childbirth. Both my children were by C-section. That there was some ego associated with not having any of these other things that everybody in the family has had or has experienced. I wasn't in that category. And when I heard that voice that said, having the surgery won't make you less than, or you will not have failed, it hit me because I didn't realize that I was moving with that as an ego point. I just didn't realize that until I heard that, and I was like, wow. And it took me, and that's usually how it works for me. When something drops in, it takes me about a week or two. I allow myself to sit with it, to feel it, to flow, to connect, get my messages, see what I'm to see. And about 2 weeks later is when I dialed into my body and realized that I needed to go to the doctors to see what was going on, for them to ultimately tell me that I was going to have the hysterectomy. I didn't have many places to go to be able to say what I'm saying, because again, most people view me as the warrior, right? Or the person that they don't expect me to be sick even, right? So I'm like, okay, all right, this I can do. I can work this out. I mean, I don't want the fibroids anyway, right? But from a spiritual perspective, what I also heard is that in that case, it was finally going to allow me to release the energies that I hadn't released in my body before. That was the area, the regrets or those things that I was holding on to that was preventing me for the next step in my life. And I decided that if the surgery was what was needed, because obviously I didn't want to keep those cells in my body, the other cells in my body, that this was a way to let it all go.